Thank you for joining us today for our ESET for Healthcare webinar. I am today's presenter, Chuck Eiton, Marketing Manager here at Productive Corporation. I'm also joined by Chris Morris, Sales Engineer at ESET. We thank you for joining us for Preventative Medicine for Your Endpoint. With that, let's take a quick look at the agenda for today. We're going to spend about 1 minute, maybe a little less, meeting Productive and who we are. Then we're going to be talking about what's currently happening in the healthcare world. And then I thought it'd be interesting to show some stats of what's been happening over the last 30 days. And then we'll be looking at a few different solutions that ESET has to offer and talk about how they fit into the healthcare world. So with that, let's take a look at who Productive is. Productive is a storage and security software expert for mid-sized companies. At Productive, you will have a dedicated account executive who will be responsible for meeting your needs and solving your problems. Productive also offers relevant resources for the products we specialize in. Product descriptions, key features, benefit system requirements, product documentation, and trial downloads can all be found on our website, productivecorp.com. At Productive, we've also created 2-minute tech articles and videos and product comparisons, giving you the third-party perspective on current IT trends made for the mid-market. All this can be found on our website, productivecorp.com/content. You can also find this on our YouTube channel as well. The bottom line, we provide resources to help you. Please use the resources of help at productivecorp.com or our toll-free number, 800-726-4099. So Chris, with that, let's talk a little bit. We decided to put this event together today after talking to tons of healthcare customers that we have and seeing some disturbing things out there across the industry, really. And some of them are abuse, some of them are neglect, some of them are just mistakes that happen, and then some of them are theft. And I thought it was interesting when I was looking at just some stats from our customers and then from the general stats that are out there, how much things really are similar, right? And healthcare being highly regulated, but it still has a lot of the concerns that we see across the board in the mid-market. And I thought it was interesting that 50% of the data breaches out there are theft-based, but then half of them aren't. Half of the data breaches out there are things that have happened, whether it's been internal loss of data, that's where a lot of it comes from, or unauthorized use of certain files, right? And we're going to talk today about how ESET can really help with that and do that. And these are some of the stats over here I thought were interesting, Chris. We're right from your guys' data that what you're seeing out there, that 75% are worried about patient health records, right? And only 43% of healthcare organizations have an accurate inventory of employee and customer data. And then, the kind of a surprising one here is 74% do not have encrypted data on their mobile devices, which those are probably the easiest thing out there to lose. So I thought that was interesting.
You look at all those, and real quick, each one of those really should be shocking to you. 75% worry about the privacy of PHR. Shouldn't that be 100%? Shouldn't we all be worried? 43% accurate inventory of employee and customer personal data. Kind of makes you wonder, if something gets lost, would you even know it's gone, or that somebody else had accessed it improperly? And then 74% not encrypting data on mobile devices. You compare that over there to that 51% of theft. Device gets stolen, you now have nothing impeding the bad guy's way of getting to that data that's on that device. So yeah, absolutely.
And 43% say that they have an accurate inventory. So I got to imagine that's actually higher than real life. I mean, most people would probably say, oh, yeah, I have that inventoried, where I bet you it's actually a lower percentage that actually do.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to just show this here with my bang your head here. This is some information that I found on a website that I use a lot of, datalostdb.org. I think it's pretty interesting. You know, in the last month, 7 different reported healthcare data breaches, and it really followed what we had seen in the last slide there, of everything from theft to lost thumb drive to one of them was improper disposal of a computer that wasn't encrypted, right? And I believe only 3 of these were actual theft, and 200,000 records lost, and not just hospitals here. One of them was an insurance provider, and one of them was a home health. So a bunch of different types of organizations with patient information that had this happen. And some were large organizations that everyone's heard of, and some were small organizations that probably only have 10 or 20 employees, but still bound to be protecting your data. And that's really what we're going to talk about today, right, is how ESET can help with that and make it simple. It doesn't have to be super complex to do some of the things that we're gonna show today. The first thing that I know you wanna show there is one of the basics that everyone in healthcare should be doing, and that's encryption, right? Getting everything encrypted. So if I toss you over here, Control, maybe you can show us what we're looking at.
Sure, absolutely. I'd be happy to.
All right, let's make you a presenter.
You're able to see everything okay?
Yeah, we're good to go.
Okay, and we wanted to talk encryption first?
Yeah, let's take a look at encryption.
Yeah, we touched on that. What do you do with those devices? Should they fall into the wrong hands? ESET does have an offering. It's called DESLock. DESLock encryption is the best thing out there that I've ever seen for encrypting Windows servers, desktops, laptops, all of those those mobile devices that somebody could steal, fall into the wrong hands. You talk about making it easy, and really it couldn't be easier here. This right here is the management console for DESLock, and it is super straightforward, very easy to use. You really can't get any simpler than this. Your users can all be set up in a hierarchy. You can set up individual users to have encryption keys, and those hierarchical shared keys can be shared amongst the entire organization, and make privacy all the way down to the individual user if needed, as well as full disk encryption, all of that great stuff. We'll take a look at the client here real quick. Just a simple plug-in here on the computer, very easy to use. You can open up your key manager here. You can see what keys are available to you. But really what DESLock does is it puts encryption into everybody's hands so that it is very easy to use, very easy to adopt. It's a great solution out there through the ESET Technology Alliance.
Right, and one of the things that we hear all the time from the mid-market customer is they're afraid to do encryption, right? Because they think once that's encrypted, if I didn't do it correctly, all my data is gone forever. But it's actually pretty straightforward here, and doesn't require days and days of services to get it installed like some solutions out there do.
No, it took me roughly 20 minutes to 30 minutes to set up my DESLock infrastructure here. The most surprising thing about this technology is how easy it is to use and put into your environment. You don't have to be an encryption expert in order to quickly become an expert in using this product.
And you also don't need to install it right away on every single machine. You can pick a group of machines, install it, make sure you're very comfortable with it, and then move on from there.
Very much so.
Cool. So the other area that we're hearing more and more people starting to at least discuss is two-factor authentication, and it's been used in the enterprise for a long time, and been really just priced out of the market for the mid-market, basically. And now it's coming down where it is in the price point that the mid-market can afford it, and what we're seeing is it's simple to use. It makes sense for a lot of businesses that historically, when we start talking to customers about it, it's like, oh yeah, I mean, I looked at, blank company, back in the day, and I mean, it was a 100, 200K project, so there's no way our 300-employee organization can afford that. And ESET's got a nice spin on two-factor authentication that can really put it right into the mid-market. And maybe you can show us a little bit about that.
Yes, absolutely. Our offering is called ESET Secure Authentication. And like you said at your statistics, when we were going through those slides, you talked about some of the small guys getting hit, for these breaches. And this really shows you that it's the small guys that still have something worth taking. And you have to be vigilant and protect even those small resources. And now in comes ESET Secure Authentication and puts two-form factor authentication into the hands of small to medium-sized businesses. That's both easy to deploy, easy to use, so that your business is not the next one having to offer identity theft protection. We're not looking to displace those enterprise-level solutions. They are great solutions, but we're trying to put this technology into the hands of the guys that wouldn't otherwise either be able to afford it or to be able to support it because they don't have a 20, 30-person in-house IT department. They've got maybe one or two guys, or they partner with someone like you in order to get all of this accomplished. But in a nutshell, two-form factor authentication is used to protect beyond the traditional username and password. You're probably already familiar with this here. It gives you those one-time passwords. But with ESET Secure Authentication, one, like I said, it's very easy to configure. You look in here, we've got a radius server to connect VPN clients to. Basic settings right here. You're looking at all of the configuration options in here. It's extremely easy to set up. You don't have to be an expert in order to manage or install this technology. The entire install time is 15, 20 minutes from start to finish. The great thing about this here is instead of a hardware token that you have to have on your device, or excuse me, have on your person at all times, we give you a piece of software that you install on the device that you will already keep with you, your smartphone. So, if it's a BlackBerry, an iPhone, or an Android device, you can have that software already installed. I've got a little slideshow here that takes you through just how easy it is for the end user. They get a text message here with a download link. They download it and install it. They go through the installation here. It's installed. They launch it. You enter in your PIN code, select your company name in there, and then presto, there's your one-time use password in order to get into all of your externally facing software, such as like your VPN connection, and Outlook web access, or SharePoint, and a variety of other software packages right out of the box. And there's also a software development kit and API in order to extend that protection to software that doesn't meet compatibility requirements right out of the box. But that is a long list of stuff that's included right in there. So yeah, very easy to set up and use. Plugins for what you're already familiar with. With the Active Directory users and computers. We can go in here and just open up a user here. And I'll show you, there's just a tab on there for ESET Secure Authentication. This will load up here in just a second. And presto, there, that's all the configuration that's needed. Very, very easy, very just affordable, straightforward. You really couldn't want a better solution.
So you don't have to worry about getting nickel and dimed when employees start losing those little key fobs that some of the other enterprise solutions make just a boatload of money on, are those little fobs. So that makes it
just a piece of software.
Yeah, that makes it pretty easy. Right, so those are two areas that we see a lot in the healthcare area that get neglected is two-factor authentication and encryption, which, right, you put a very simple spin on how ESET handles that, right? But what you're better known for is your endpoint security, because, right, ESET's been doing that forever, as long as they've been a company. And one of the features that we really like about it, everyone, a lot of people say when they're looking at replacing their endpoint security is, yeah, I just don't want to do it because it's such a pain to get rid of what I currently have installed, whether it's Symantec or McAfee or Trend or whatever it might be. And ESET's got a pretty cool story on their rip and replace of how you can get rid of your old endpoint security software or malware software and get ESET installed. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about rip and replace and what it is and why is it different?
Oh, sure, absolutely. Rip and replace is our professional service to become an ESET customer. We're not real happy with just giving you a utility that is really just going to call the native uninstaller of whatever the old product that you have on your systems is, and really just hoping that it all works, and then you become a new customer. Now, ESET wants your initial experience with them to be a favorable one. We want you to be happy that you went with us. And so to that end, we've got Rip and Replace, and it does more than just an uninstall of the previous product. This really is a game changer. It will, like the name implies, rip out the incumbent antivirus that's on there, and I mean every stray file, every registry entry, everything. Totally cleans that system, then installs ESET on there, does it all without user intervention and all without a reboot. You can't get much slicker than that, and I'll even launch the utility here, and if you don't notice anything, that, folks, is how it's supposed to be. You're just going to see McAfee disappear down here in the bottom. I only picked McAfee as just a demo here. It's not that I have anything particularly against them. But that really right there is going to be the only prompt that you're going to see on a computer, and with a group policy you can disable those notification messages as well. But gives you a real idea of just how pain-free coming over to ESET can be.
Yeah, our account executives here, right, they have calls with customers all day long, and it typically starts out when they're looking at ESET, they're leery of this rip and replace, right, because everyone's like, oh, we do it, and we do it well, and it's great, right, but everyone else on the market, pretty much it's just calling up that uninstaller, and regardless of how good some of them are better than others, but it's always leaving some sort of process on those systems, and this is really, I mean, right, the only one out there that's truly going in there and getting out all the code underlying.
It is. And on top of that, you're also getting the services of someone like me, an engineer, to assist you with designing your deployment strategy and being there to make sure everything works okay, and that if you do have any problems, we're there to help. We don't want you to just feel like you're all alone and you've got to tackle this on your own. ESET experts are there to help you and make sure that your transition is as smooth as possible.
Cool. So let's take a quick look at the console for
Sure.
endpoint, and take a look at some of the features. Maybe you can show us policy creation and managing a group, kind of just how that would work, and what the ESET philosophy behind that is.
Sure. I'll just give you a quick overview on our console here, which you can see. We try and keep things every bit as simple as possible. We're not going to win any awards for, by graphic design artists out there, but that's how we like it, because we're loved by admins. We get you into the console, you get done what you got to get done, and you get out of there. But here you got all your clients. You see all of these different types of clients are all checking into the same console. No need to have separate consoles for different kinds of security products. Down here along the bottom, you've got tabs, that will correspond to the bits of information that clients report in. Won't go through and explain all of them to you. Most of them are pretty self-explanatory, and any good IT guy is going to be able to figure this out pretty quickly here. But like you said, let's talk about groups for managing stuff, for both filtering that information that you get on those tabs, as well as applying policies, which we'll look at in a minute. You can have static groups, whose membership doesn't change unless you change it. Parametric groups whose membership is dynamic based upon a set of criteria or circumstances. And of course, you can integrate with Active Directory or really any other LDAP server, so that if you've already got your computer accounts already neatly organized according to organizational unit, there's no need to keep all of those groups in two different spots. You can use the groups that you've already got. Moving right over here to Policy Manager. Policies are hierarchical, so you can have parent-child policy relationships. Most people are already familiar with Active Directory's group policy by now, and this is very analogous to that. So it's very easy to understand and use. You can have as flat of an environment as you want, so maybe one policy, or as hierarchical as you want. So maybe you've got a number of different policies so that different groups of computers in your environment have different policies to them. Here you can see it just happened to open up here. You can see, you can have multiple update profiles, even on a single policy, so that, you can have computers go to an internal server as well as go directly to ESET for their updates. But every setting that is available in any ESET security product is all available in here. There are a lot of them, folks. I really won't bore you to death with going through all of them there, but it just gives you a real quick idea of just how many configurable options there are, because ESET knows that your environment's going to be different than the guy down the street, and we don't expect you to take your antivirus protection the way that we give it to you. We know that you're going to need something a little bit different than that guy down the street, and so we give you both the option of configuring your protection to meet your needs.
So one of the things that healthcare really needs to be concerned about is the loss of removable media, USB thumb drives, things like that, that seem to grow legs and walk away every single day. What can you do to help that?
Really great question. Let's go in here and take a look at ESET's device control. Open this up here. It just looks better on the client. You can control all of this from the server as well. But we go in here, and this subsystem allows you to control really anything that you could plug into a computer, whether it's disk storage, optical, FireWire, an imaging device. So you can even block those webcams that have become so ubiquitous in the marketplace. USB printers, Bluetooth devices, smart card readers, modems. Talk about preventing information leak the old school way there. Some people you forget about those older computers that have modems built right into them. Great way to control those. COM ports, portable devices, you name it. The example I love giving to my customers is for disk storage. A great idea is to go to your favorite hardware provider, get 30 USB thumb drives. You could even go so far as to record their model number and serial numbers in there. Yeah, I know it's going to be a little bit of typing, but once you're done, though, those will be the only devices allowed on your network. And you change that to a read-write rule, and then a subsequent one is to block everything. But what it'll do then is you can hand out those 30 drives to maybe your executives and your managers, your trusted folks, and then maybe have a few at the help desk that can be signed out. But now you have effectively prevented anybody from bringing unauthorized information or software into your environment, and you've effectively prevented data loss by people either purposefully or inadvertently taking private information out of the network and allowing it to fall into the hands of somebody else.
So this wouldn't be an ESET webinar if we didn't talk about what's really one of the claim to fames, right, is your agent and how lightweight that is on resources, and how ESET does not bog down even people that are running old systems, right? And we see that all the time in healthcare, where you have some legacy systems that haven't been updated in a long time, right? Because they can't due to whatever software is running on them or hardware that's plugged into them. Maybe you can tell us and show us a little bit about the ESET agent and why that claim to fame.
Yeah, Microsoft might have abandoned support on several of those older operating systems, but ESET sure hasn't. Our support for our products, we still support our products on Windows NT 4 running a Pentium 3 1 gigahertz and 512 megabytes of RAM. How's that for supporting the older stuff? We're talking about less than 300 megabytes of total disk space. I'm talking about everything in the kitchen sink installed on there, and less than 300 meg footprint on the client. That includes all of your updates, everything. Let's talk about in the operating memory here. Open this up here. Only two processes running, eGUI.exe and eKern.exe. Right now this is sitting at about 125 meg of RAM, and the GUI, that's this guy over here, is sitting at about 6 meg of RAM. So the takeaway here is that our high water mark is below the idle usage of most, if not all, of our competition. So very lightweight there. Whenever we scan in a lower priority, whenever you're doing a dedicated scan, so that we're not taking away valuable CPU cycles and performance from the user's task at hand, because let's face it, everybody didn't buy computers for a business so that they could run antivirus. They bought them so that they could get a job done. And so we like to stay in the background, protect your system, and let you get done what you've got to get done. There's no reason why antivirus has to be a resource hog and slow your system down to the point where it becomes essentially unusable at worst or at best, just frustrating throughout the day.
So one of the ways you're able to accomplish that super light footprint is through the use of what you guys call LiveGrid, right? It's your version of the cloud, and maybe you can give a little bit of insight on what's the thought process behind that.
Yeah. Sure, and this is in addition to the built-in protections, such as heuristics, which is, a technology that ESET pioneered, and we were the first ones to bring to market. We're looking at virus-like behavior rather than trying to match against a database of already previously seen threats. But you talked about ESET LiveGrid, that's proven on it's based on our proven threat sense technology, and it's our advanced early warning system for threat detection. The best, real-world example I can give you is that, a new threat appears on the threatscape out there, maybe Eastern Europe, maybe it shows up in Australia, on somebody's computer, where have you, and if they're running ESET, we will know about that, and we can share that information worldwide immediately with all of our customers without having to have an antivirus update, the way everybody else has to, and we're able to either whitelist or blacklist threats immediately using that LiveGrid technology. It makes sure that we remain adaptive to emerging threats and patterns and all those new attack vectors.
That's a pretty quick overview of some of the things that are out there, right? That ESET has on its line card, and we really just touched the tip of the iceberg. And there's a lot more we can show, and a lot more that we can talk about. And we'd love to be able to show you the entire line card that ESET has to offer, and how it can help healthcare really protect their sensitive data, and also do it in an affordable way and in a way that can be done internally, right, and not use a ton of external resources to do that. So if we can help engage in any of those conversations, give us a call at 800-726-4099. Send an email to help@productivecorp.com. And with that, Chris, I'd like to thank you for spending the time to talk a little bit about ESET and healthcare on how we can help with that. And we hope you enjoyed today's webinar, and we'll see you on a future event. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks.